Boom, baby. The Oklahoma Sooners are going to start off the spring transfer portal hot. They land Jake Maikkula on the offensive line, and this is going to provide the Oklahoma Sooners some much needed depth at the center position, which we kind of talked about earlier last week. But this is great news. This is something that we got to break down, something that we got to talk about. Before we do that, though, as always, I want to hear from y'all, so join the discussion. Jump in the comments below and let me know what you guys think about the recent addition of Jake Maikkula to the Oklahoma Sooners. But he is a 6'5", 295-pound grad transfer that has played in 20 games with 16 starts in the last 2 seasons for the Stanford Cardinals. And this is a guy that is an extremely versatile offensive lineman, and one that, quite frankly, a lot of schools would have loved to have gotten on their squad, because he's not only a guy that can play center, which is primarily where I believe Oklahoma ended up recruiting him at, but he also had some stints at right and left guard as well. So when you look at Jake and what he's able to bring to the Oklahoma Sooners, he can maybe try to help drive Troy Everett to be just a little bit better, right? Because iron sharpens iron. We talk about it all the time, being able to have the depth to, and Brent Venables talks about it, the competitive depth to drive these guys to want to be better, to not lose their spots. And then also, Troy Everett, as great as he has been in Oklahoma, you haven't really seen Troy Everett put together a complete season in an OU uniform yet. So Jake will be able to come into the Oklahoma Sooners and really provide, whether he ends up taking the starting role from Troy and Troy becomes the backup, or becoming a backup to Troy for the season and then end up taking the starting job next year. It just gives Oklahoma a little bit more comfortability knowing that you have a backup center there in case things do go sideways. But what are the Oklahoma Sooners getting in Jake? Maybe as a pass blocker, as a run blocker, because we all know with Mateer kind of being a dual threat quarterback, you need a guy that can kind of excel in both. Now, he has an average grade of 51.8 in the run block, so obviously this is an area of growth for Jake. But under no doubt in my mind, can he come into the University of Oklahoma, be in Bill Bedenbaugh's system, and blossom as a great center or even a guard? See, this is another thing that I don't think we're talking about enough here. Although it looks like he's probably going to be the backup center at Oklahoma, let's just say Josh Isosa puts it together this year, or Owen Hollenbeck ends up progressing a lot quicker than you thought he would be. And maybe they can take snaps at the center position, but you need a guard. Maybe he can switch out to the right or the left guard. He's already played that as well. We know how much Bill Bedenbaugh really loves versatile offensive linemen that can play multiple positions. So just keep that in mind. He's a guy that can play either guard position, but can also play the center position, which is where I feel like Oklahoma probably primarily recruited him. But an average rate of 51.8 on the run block, obviously room to grow there, room that you would expect him to grow there under a Bill Bedenbaugh and Kevin Wilson coached offensive line. You look at his pass block grade, though, 71.3. And although he had a rocky start in his first 2 games of the season, you started to see him progressively just get a little bit better each week and against some pretty good defenses. I mean, you see, he had to go to at Clemson. Clemson's got a pretty solid defensive line. So you look at that and you say, I'm pretty good with what I see in these grades, especially in the pass blocking scheme for Oklahoma, especially with a guy that's going to be able to go out there, help call the plays, make sure the offensive linemen are in the right spot. This is a guy that with multiple years of eligibility can provide a lot of value to the Oklahoma Sooners and maybe even have a chance to, like I said, have a chance to maybe start this year if Troy Everett is just, not there, but potentially has the chance to start next year with having a full year in the system under his belt at that point. So other interesting note, originally played at Valor Christian High School. This is the same high school where Gavin Sawchuk came out of, and I believe Gabe Sawchuk played at. So for the Oklahoma Sooners, you kind of got a little bit of a pipeline going there. He was a former 3-star out of high school, but kind of a coveted offensive lineman in the transfer portal. He took a visit to UCLA and I know a couple other places. So he was definitely wanted by some bigger schools across the country. But the Oklahoma Sooners ultimately end up landing this commitment. So I want to hear from y'all. Make sure you guys join the discussion. Jump in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think of the Oklahoma Sooners' latest commitment. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys have not already, make sure you guys hit that like and you hit that subscribe button.